Welcome into the Afternoon Sports Drive Triple Play Sports Radio Network. On this Wednesday edition, Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, Tom Dorado's in the house with us, along with Levi Peckinpah. We're live over here at Bad Brad's Barbecue on this Wednesday. Father's Day is this Sunday. What better treat than to bring Dad on over to the best barbecue in town. Inside dining from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Sunday. So bring your dad over, and how about this? He'll get a free cobbler with his meal. Promise he's going to be happy after that. The best barbecue, free cobbler. So it's a great suggestion for your dad and the whole family to come on over and enjoy some Bad Brad's Barbecue. We're seated over here at this beautiful full-service bar that they have rocking right now. A lot of good stuff going on over here at Bad Brad's. Zach, what's going on today, man?
Not much.
We're back together.
Yeah, we are. I'm trying to cool off. It's so hot outside. I'm not a fan of this.
It's the worst.
And I live here. I've lived here my whole life, so I get it. But damn it if it doesn't suck. But the good thing is I did see a news report that it's supposed to be in the mid-80s next week.
Ooh.
So I'm counting down the days.
That's a cool down. That is a straight up winter is here.
Break out the hoodies.
There you go. Talking to Tommy D on this Wednesday, too. Tom, what's going on, man?
Hey, I'm listening to Zach complain about the heat. I love the heat. I mean, the hotter the better for me. I love it. It's makes it easier to get loose. You go out and work out.
Breed.
You just, it makes it a hell of a lot. I'd rather have it this than, 25 below zero like we've had.
Well, yeah,
seemingly.
me too.
But oh, no. For Zach, of course, we got to have it perfect, right? Zach can't go out of the house unless it's about 72, sun shining, no wind, and then Zach will be happy. So
yeah,
we're all living in Zach's world. I understand that. We all live in Zach's world.
There you go. That's what happens sometimes. We gotta accommodate. You know how it is. All right, so we have a lot of things to get to here today on the show. Clearly, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but we'll bring it up again now that Zach is back with us too. But the big news is, as Tom and I discussed again, Bryce Williams having a chance to announce that he's going to return to Oklahoma State basketball. And basically, Zach, what you get from this, obviously we know what we saw from Bryce last year, and there's room for improvement at different spots of his game, but the plethora of guards on this team, and that poses some positives and some negatives. The one is the really positive. You can never really have too many. I feel like that's something that I've gone by. It's like it's okay, if you have a bunch of guards, because you can find different ways to use them and things like that. The other part of it on the other side is, okay, now how do we use them? How do we put them in the right lineups? How do we make sure we have the right guys out there at the right time? How do we make sure we have the hot hands and things like that? And there's a lot of things that you have to balance with this many guards. But Bryce, what he does bring, as you know, is maybe a bit of stability at that spot. You're going to ask him to fit in a certain role. And it's like, we mentioned yesterday quite a bit. Will he be able to accept whatever role is given to him? And at some point, I would think this year, too, take on a pretty large chunk of leadership when it comes to what he needs to bring to this team after being here for a season.
Yeah, that's the big one right there. You get leadership and you get athleticism. We talked to Boynton yesterday after we talked to the assistant coaches, and ironically enough, you mentioned you don't know if you can ever have too many guards. Boynton said that even if they had no scholarships to give, they would still go after a guard if he was good enough. So I'm with you on that. He did talk about it was brought up about the plethora of guards, and he said, it's a kind of a good bad situation, because obviously you want to have a lot of talented guards. You want to have guys that can come off the bench and give some good valuable minutes in relief and put up a lot of points. But that's also the negative, is you have a lot of really good guards and some guys are going to be coming off the bench. And I don't know exactly what the starting lineup's going to look like right now, because I think Bryce is good enough to be in the starting lineup. But then you also look at the other guards, and I'll say this: I'm not envious of Boynton and the coaching staff, their decision of having to try to figure out where these guys fit in that lineup.
Well, first, and Tom, when it comes down to that, do you see Bryce Williams being a starter this upcoming season when the season comes around?
Not if I was putting it together, no. I told you the other day, I think he's more valuable like he was with Rondell Walker coming off the bench and being defensive spark plugs, locking down people, coming off the bench and making sure that nobody goes on a run. They were really good in that role early last year. And then they started putting him in the starting lineup from time to time, And I thought that tandem that they presented early on was disrupted. And I don't know that we ever got that back. And we talked about this team was not a great defensive team, despite what all the talk was about. Defense is what we do. Great defenses don't give up 74 points a game. Great defenses keep the opponents in the 60s pretty much every game, or most games. So they were average at best defensively. And, you talk about guards. I mean, that shouldn't surprise you. Boynton doesn't care about how many guards he's got, plus he doesn't care about how many threes go up. I mean, they could shoot 50 threes. That'd be all right with him, I guess. But you found out in this league you can have a hell of a lot of guards, but you better have somebody in the middle who can handle the push and shove people. And right now we don't. In my mind, we don't have that. I mean, Caleb, we found out, wasn't that kind of guy. I don't know how much weight he's put on. He probably put on some more. But, McCormick wore him out, just using that example, twice. And McCormick didn't wear that many guys out. So, while you worry about and you're happy with all the guys who can shoot the ball in from outside, you better start worrying about who's going to keep the ball out of the middle and what you're going to do when the ball goes in the middle and keep it out of, layups and blocks and rebounds. And, I think our rebound edge was only 2 at the end of the year. So those are areas, while they're not as sexy as shooters, like you want to talk about all these guards, everybody who can shoot the ball. And let me tell you, that those coaches together that Zach talked to yesterday, those guys make a hell of a lot of money in 1 year. A hell of a lot of money to figure this out. So it's up to them to figure it out going into the year. But I would be more in tune with, I know it's a different style of play, and we're not back into that, ones, twos, and threes, and power forward and just centers. But we found out the good teams in the Big 12, and there weren't that many last year that you could say were really good teams. But damn it, they had guys in the middle who made life miserable for our guys in the middle. So I think that's something they need to address sooner than later.
Well, so then that begs the question as well then for both of you guys is this team built for that? Like, we know they have the guards, but are they actually built to be that team that can go in and outshoot, that can outrun, that can get up back on defense and really utilize their speed as much as anything? And that comes maybe with sacrificing a little bit of size inside. We also heard that Caleb Boone, he's talking about, look, I gotta get bigger, I gotta get stronger. Yeah, that's one thing. And you think, eventually Caleb can turn into a really solid player in the middle before it's all said and done. But the amount of guards that this team has, clearly it's the we're going to run and gun, we're going to take a lot of shots, we're going to take a lot of three-point shots, and then you might have to live and die with that. But the question is this team actually built talent-wise for that?
I think it depends on who you play in, fellas.
Yeah.
I mean, if you play in a smaller team, you can get away with that. If you play, and not every team has a McCormick, just using him as an example. Not every team. Baylor had, quote, big men, but I didn't think Thamba was somebody you really needed to worry about considerably. But good teams are going to have that guy in the middle who can make it difficult for you to get there, protect the rim, push you off the block, make where you can't score. They're going to push you out further than you want to be, and they're going to take drives away. Eventually, that's what basketball comes down to in this day and age. The good teams have that. And if you don't have that and you match up against a smaller team, not that smaller stuff, the guards, running and gunning, and hey, what was Boynton? Boynton was a guard, right? So he certainly is. He certainly likes the guard situation. He likes being able to get up and down the floor. But let me tell you, if you can't rebound it and you can't hit shots and you can't turn people over consistently, all that guard stuff doesn't look pretty good because you're back in a half court where they can defend you, and that's what basketball is all about. So while it sounds good to have 7 different guards. 2 things come to mind, and I don't go for all the hype, all the media day hype that we get in mid-season. Talk is talk. I want to see the walk, but these guys going to have to figure out who the best combination is, and I don't know if they've got that in mind or not. Bryce Thompson might see some playing time early, may not. They may go 3 guards depending on who you play. Go through a smaller team, you could do that, but if you go through a team that's got some size, especially in the backcourt, like, say, Baylor had with their guards for the most part, all of a sudden now you got to adjust what you're doing with guards, and you make a hell of a lot of money to figure out who's going to start and who's coming off the bench.
I think this team is athletic enough, and it does have some shooters. Now, you lost lost a considerable shooter and a considerable amount of points off of last year's team. So I mean that's going to be hard to make up. But if Isaac Likely can get back to the way he was physically, then I think they have a better chance. Because can the Boone twins, specifically Caleb, get bigger and stronger? Yes. But, I mean, will he? Or are we going to – I think what we have with Caleb is what we have with Caleb. He is athletic, he is talented, but I don't think there's much more weight and much more physicality we're going to get out of him. So I think that like getting back on defense, I think this team could be a good defensive team, but in terms of rebounds, you're going to need Isaac Likely back. You're going to need M.A. to figure it out and get stronger and more confident. Because I'm with Tom. I think depending on what team you're playing, I think they can hang with the smaller teams. And I'm not saying that this team's not going to be any good, because I think this is going to be an athletic team. I think it's going to be a fun team to watch. But when you go up against a team that has a 6'10", 6'11", 255-pound big man, that's going to be an issue for someone that's 6'11", 215.
And what you don't have this year is so obvious. I thought Cade played bigger than what was he, 6'8", whatever, what was he listed at? I forgot, 6'8", 6'7"?
6'8", 220.
He played bigger than that. He played bigger. He was a big man playing the point. He was a big man playing wherever he played. Plus, he could shoot the basketball like a guard, like a 5'9" guy. You don't have that. There's not. For those people who think there's a Cade Cunningham out there right now, I think you're fooling yourself to think that this team's going to be just as good when they hit the floor against whoever they hit the floor against next year. Cade Cunningham was the guy, and it took him a while. Bryce Thompson's going to take a while to get into this system. I didn't think, and I told you guys when he was at Kansas, before the injuries, it's not knocking Thompson, but I thought he was overmatched. Self put him in there early on to see what he could do, and he was overmatched. He couldn't get shots off. He got pushed around on drives. He didn't defend all that well. Now, that's what freshmen do, okay? Even though we like to make freshmen finished products, they're not. It takes them a while to work themselves in. So you got a lot of possibilities. I'm just as interested as you guys are what the quote-unquote rotation will be. But being around Boynton for 4 years, the rotations could be dictated on who's putting the ball in the basket. And if you're putting the ball in the basket a lot, you're going to play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, plain and simple. And I think that you have a lot of opportunities to mix it up with different lineups and find, that's another part of getting more non-conference games back. You're going to find out which one works best, who's got the hot hand. Maybe it is Bryce Thompson early. Maybe Bryce Williams comes out and makes the most out of his minutes and earns more before it's all said and done. There's a lot of opportunities here. I want to switch it over here real quick before we get our break in, too. This was interesting. I heard an interview a little bit today with Bob Bowlesby, Big 12 commissioner, and something that I thought was pretty interesting he talked about was the idea of the transfer portal, one of the questions he was asked, and things like that when it comes to recruiting. And, Tom, I know you've hit on this before, and I'm with you. I completely agree on what you're going to say about this, I know. But the question for you guys is, because it ties in with these new coaches coming in for Oklahoma State. A lot of them, as you know, yesterday, Zach, talking about the recruiting process, being excited, first of all, to be able to come back out on, like a normal, and is not over the phone or computer anymore. Yeah. We can get back to how it's supposed to be on the road and everything like that. But as far as what the transfer portal potentially can do to recruiting, do you guys see it being this giant shift eventually with these coaches where it's no longer, let's find these top guys out of high school per se, because I've got one over here that's already been pretty good at this Division I school in the transfer portal. He was unhappy with his situation and wants to, let's go over here and see if we can't convince them to come on over. And all of a sudden the focus shifts to, hey, your number one recruiting option is now the transfer portal. Like that's where we want you to attack. Then we can kind of, put it on the back burner and see what prospects we got coming up out of whatever high school or academy you want to talk about. But let's also take a look at some of these experienced guys first.
I think a little bit of both, honestly, because I think there was I can't remember the school, but it was a lower tier school that as soon as the contact period, within 12 hours of the contact period ending, that dead period ending, they had contacted like 180 college players that were in the portal. Because you look at it, and I think that you are going to have a lot of coaches that go out and they get a sophomore or a junior out of the transfer portal, because I talked to the coaches yesterday about not having true freshmen. Does it make it easier? And they were like, yes, in a sense, because you don't have to bring these guys along. They already understand the physicality of this game. But at some point, you're going to run out of college kids. You're going to have to go after those high school kids, because there aren't going to be any more college kids if you're not recruiting high school kids. So I think you'll see guys like Boynton and the other, and then the blue blood programs, the guys that go after consistent 4- and 5-star prospects. You're going to see them continue to recruit those guys. But I'm with you. I think it'll be at a smaller level. I think it's going to kind of be like the Gundy approach. If you get some interest from the kid, you'll continue to recruit and push. But as soon as that kid stops, you're going to be like, all right, well, there's guys in the transfer portal. I'm going to see if I can't try to go out and land this former 5-star that's unhappy playing with Syracuse or what have you.
I suggest you read, if you haven't already, Barry Trembl's column today in the Oklahoman, because I thought he did an extensive job on documenting the comings and the goings in the Big 12 men's basketball side since the end of the year. You would be stunned at the amount of people who have come and gone off these rosters, including Oklahoma State's, for that matter. It's a good read, but it's also opened your eyes. Now, I didn't hear Bowlesby, Patrick, so I don't know what he said. But I'm guessing that, I think this will probably correct itself maybe in a couple of years. But as long as you don't have any rules, it's not going to correct itself. And whether coaches want to agree with me or not, they sit there and peruse. They may not, but they have somebody on their staff. That's all they do is look at names in the portal. Then they go look at video and see if this fits my deal. And when you're only adding 2 or 3 players a year in the ideal situation, then you don't even need to go get a high school guy, unless there's a Cade Cunningham involved, and then you go hire his brother. But other than that, you're going to go get the ready-made, if you will. But there still, to me, is that question mark. Are they really ready-made unless I've seen them play at a major college level? If I'm getting somebody in the portal who didn't play a lick at, I don't care what the school is, didn't really play much, and I'm bringing them in, like the guy at Tech and Smith, using Oklahoma State's example, the guy at Syracuse, that doesn't automatically tell me they're going to fit in here and be, impact players. If I get a guy who was a starting center at 4 years at North Carolina, and I saw what he did, now he's in the portal, like I'll go get him. Now I understand what he can bring to the table. So I do think there's a little false gold involved there as well, but it's a way of filling out your roster. And now we'll see if these coaches can really evaluate what they see portal-wise and make it work in your place. Just because it might have worked someplace else is not an automatic that's going to work with you.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point there, Tom, talking about the idea now with a lot of teams is we got guys that specifically that is your job. You were going to go look into the portal and see what there is. But I see it more being, especially as we get more into it, it's going to be initially another mirror of free agency. And I mean that by, you're looking at the top guys available, and there's going to be a lot of offers, and that kid picks the best one. Then after, let's say, those top 3, 4, 5 guys, really top guys that are in the portal, then all of a sudden it's like, all right, now we'll see if there's some holes we can fill and things like that. Let's get our focus back on these top recruits that are interested in visiting and coming over to Oklahoma State. It's going to be, or whatever school, but it's going to be a really interesting balance, and we'll see over the next couple of years how the trends are changing. And especially that's going to be the case with how many players choose to continue to go into the transfer portal, which, as we know, seems to only continue to rise. And I don't think it's going to not be rising anytime soon based off the trends we're already seeing. So it is an interesting idea, the idea of recruiting, and then everything that goes along with it might be changing before our very eyes. And we come back here on the afternoon sports drive. Matt Nagy, come on, man. Please say it's not so. Please say it's not so. We'll tell you what that's all about coming up next.
Oh, screaming out at the top of my lungs, 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 lungs. Tell the world that I found the one. Whoa, my baby's hotter than the golden sun. Can make my heart beat like a bass drum. Listen to me now. I've been touched by an angel.
Welcome back Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, Tom Dorado, and Levi Peckinpah here on this Wednesday. Good news. We are now up and running. If anyone listens to Robert's show by chance, then you would know about the Triple Play text line. Well, now it is a part of the Afternoon Sports Drive as well. You can text the Triple Play text line and send in any questions you might have. 405-385-4221. It is the best way to get connected with the show. Feel free to drop in anything sports-related or not. Whatever it is, we'll get to it. 405-385-4221. That is the Triple Play text line brought to you by Cimarron and Iowa Casinos. All right, so before the break, I had a little bit of a yelling spree going on there because I'm so upset with Bears head coach Matt Nagy, and I hope this is a bunch of coach talk. I hope this isn't actually real, but Matt Nagy says that Andy Dalton is still the starter and Justin Fields will be number 2. It's a big dun-dun-dun moment, and for anyone that watched Andy Dalton, they're obviously upset by this news. For anyone that's a Bears fan that was excited about Justin Fields and excited about having the opportunity to move up and get him and make sure he was the guy, then they don't like this. This was his quote. Answering the question from Chris Collinsworth on his podcast, no, Andy is our starter, and there's so many things that can happen between today and week number 1, but Andy is our starter and Justin's our number 2, and we're going to stick with this plan. Now, here is, and now I'll ask you guys if you actually believe this in a second, because I'm going to tell you I don't. Okay, but let me just say, can I get a yes out of anyone? I mean, does anybody out there believe this, that Andy Dalton is going to be number 1 out there in week 1, and Justin Fields is going to be sitting watching from the sidelines?
No.
Yes. Yes.
Levi says yes.
Yes, because
my goodness.
Because Matt Nagy's dumb enough. If you haven't realized, he has bad offenses, and half the time he doesn't realize what he's doing with an offense. Of course, he's trying to put together the best squad to go out there and perform. But if you really think that at this point, since Andy Dalton is where he is at his career, and the bad performances that he had in Dallas, thank you for that, Andy Dalton, and the potential that Justin Fields has as a quarterback, it doesn't make sense at all, and Justin Fields should be that guy. But if he's got enough confidence in the vet of Andy Dalton and the experience that he has, I think that's kind of why he's leaning towards that way, because of the experience that Andy Dalton has and what he's seen in the NFL already. That's why he's going that way. But if you're going on just pure talent, it should be Justin Fields.
So young enough, so surely by now you understand and are not naive enough to ever believe a coach when he talks about a quarterback, either in the NFL or certainly on a college level. You know, you're led to believe we're going to have a hell of a competition between Spencer Sanders and Shane Illingworth. And we're not sure now what's going to go on. Is there any doubt in your mind who the hell the quarterback's going to be when we start against Missouri State? Is there any doubt?
No.
So coaches are not going to say anything about quarterbacks on any level at this time of the year. So they string the world along thinking that that's going to happen when in fact it's not. But they don't want to piss 1 or 2 quarterbacks off, especially on a college level, because in this day and age you piss one of them off who's down there in the 3rd slot or even the 2nd slot, and they say, Coach, I'll see you, man. I don't believe you. So I don't believe a coach, period, when they talk about quarterbacks on any level.
Okay, so does that mean, Tom, that Justin Fields is going to be out there instead of your favorite quarterback, Andy Dalton?
I have no idea what he's going to do. I mean, certainly Fields is going to have to beat him out.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the pros it's a little different. You can say whatever the hell you want, and if you don't like it as a pro, then I remind you we're paying you we're writing you a check every month, so you're going to do what I tell you, and you're going to take what I say. But at the same time, they play that silly game where I'm going to throw a name out there. Well, you know, maybe they don't want Dalton to leave. I mean, I don't know what he can do or not do, but is there any doubt that Fields will be the quarterback of the future? Probably not.
Right. The main thing that is just hard to gauge is because I assume because of how things have been for Chicago in the past that most likely Matt Nagy is on the hot seat. So he's definitely trying to figure out the best combination to not only propel Chicago forward, but also to save his job. That's what he's trying to do and trying to figure out the right combos and trying to figure out whether or not Andy Dalton or Justin Fields is the way to go. And it's hard to figure out because the way that rookie quarterbacks are being treated now these days of if they're they're not automatically the starter and they're not automatically doing great there. They're almost useless half the time. You're seeing that with some rookie QBs. If they're not automatically the guy, they're almost trashed out the window. So he's trying to figure out the best way to put in Justin Fields and to see if he's truly ready for this moment. From almost everybody else's eyes, everybody thinks that Justin Fields is ready, but maybe going through practice and going through various things, from his eyes, he might see Justin Fields as a guy who needs to sit for a little bit of time and play Andy Dalton. But then again, you don't really know when it comes to actual game time compared to practice.
See, and what you said there, Levi, a minute ago is why I'm going to disagree. That I think this is a bunch of BS, a bunch of string-along talk, because, yes, Matt Nagy knows this is last chance. He got the draft done. He got what he wanted. He got Justin Fields. But you're telling me that he's going to go out there and botch it by giving Andy Dalton a chance. I mean, I don't think there's any way at all that Justin Fields is not out there in week 1. I expect once training camp rolls around, you're going to get that quote out of the Bears, and it's going to say, oh, the Bears are really liking what they see out of Justin Fields all of a sudden. Man, he's done a few things recently that have just, really caught everybody's eye, and things are looking good to have him out there. That's what we're going to hear. And he's going to get out there. All the offseason hype has been on him. If you've noticed around the sports media, he's getting all of the press. I mean, I saw the other day, right, the Cardinals were playing the Cubs, and they had a standing ovation across Wrigley Field because they panned over and showed Justin Fields sitting over there in the press box. I mean, he is the guy, and he's about to be the guy. The Bears screwed up in this offseason by posting that QB1 pick with Dalton. Remember, we all roasted that. Like, that was pretty funny. They messed up by doing that. That was dumb. And Nagy may have actually told him that he was going to be the guy, but even if he did, so what? They went up and they grabbed Justin Fields. Were you afraid you're going to hurt a few feelings? I mean, I feel like that's not going to be too much of an issue as well. You don't have a weapon like Justin Fields sitting on the bench while Andy Dalton is out there stinking it up. And, I mean, what's he going to base it off of? He's going to say, well, Andy Dalton's a vet. He's been there. He's seen that. Like, miss me with all that nonsense, too. Because if you want to win, then you switch it up right now. You don't even give Andy Dalton an opportunity. You let him know by week 1 that you are now our backup. Sorry, but Justin Fields deserves this opportunity to come out here. Why? Because 2 reasons. 1, I want to help save my job. I actually like coaching here. And 2, I want to give us the best chance to win. And Justin Fields, even though we haven't seen him out there on an NFL field, I've seen enough out of Andy Dalton over the years to know what we're going to get. You can actually say what you expect from him, and you're probably going to get that. With Justin Fields, you don't know. He could turn out to be, terrible for all we know. He could go out there and not be good. But if that's the case, at least you know what you have in a backup. You don't know what you have in a backup with Justin Fields, so why not throw him out there with these weapons, see what happens? And again, the worst is you go back to Andy Dalton, Matt Nagy's out the next year, and then things are maybe how some people expected it to go. But when I heard this, and I know that there were a lot of people like, man, come on. You got to be kidding me. This is not what we want to hear, and I'm sure that it's been going crazy in the news in Chicago today in sports media too. Oh, then, does he really believe this? No, there's no way. Justin Fields will be out there week 1. Mark it down right now when it comes around, and he will be the talk of this entire season because I think he's going to have a – you guys know how high I was on him in the draft. I think he's going to have a huge rookie year, and it's going to start in week 1. There's no way he's not out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting is – I turned on SportsCenter this morning for the first time in a while, mind you, and they were talking about this, and they were saying, one of the analysts was talking about, well, it very possibly could just be Matt Nagy trying to eliminate any possible pressure off of, like media pressure off of Justin Fields, because if the media believes that Andy Dalton is going to be QB1. Then it's not going to be tons of offseason talk the next 2 months of, oh, well, Justin Fields has to live up to the expectations. That's the dumbest thought I've ever heard of in my life. Because what's the media doing? They're trashing it. There's no way Andy Dalton's going to be the starting quarterback. That's the conversation. It's not, well, Justin Fields isn't going to be the starter, so we don't have to worry about pressure, and he can go out there when he does get out there, and he can play well. That's stupid. I'm with you, Patrick, because you look at it, if you're Matt Nagy, you put your franchise quarterback out there, and if he excels, then you look like a genius for drafting Justin Fields. And all of a sudden, you might, and it's a stretch, but you might save your job if you go out and make the playoffs and win a game. But if you put Andy Dalton out there, you know what you're getting with Andy Dalton, and it's not great. Levi knows with Dallas. Every other team knows with Andy Dalton that you're not getting great play. So put Justin Fields out there, and if he sucks, well, then you know what you got with Andy
Well,
Dalton, and you can put him out there.
Part of it is I've seen this comparison made too. It's like, let's just do an Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes situation. He sits behind him for a year, and maybe then he soaks all that up, and he's great last year. Okay, but Alex Smith was a proven winner.
The better quarterback than Andy Dalton.
When you look at Andy Dalton, like that's the other part of last year. Levi, you know this too. He had everybody available to him in Dallas. Like, yeah, the defense was really bad, but the weapons he had, and obviously Zeke wasn't himself, but he's still Zeke, and you couldn't make that work. Come on now. If it weren't for that body of work as an example last year, I would be talking about this a little differently. But he had an opportunity and he blew it.
He didn't have everybody available. Mainly, we could have went out there and played offensive line for him. But, yeah, he didn't have a great time in Dallas. And the thing is, if you just look at the trajectory of his career for the past little bit, the wind down with the Bengals where his ability has just came down with the Bengals. Then last year with Dallas where, yes, he had a lot of weapons over there and just really underperformed. It does not look great for the future of Andy Dalton. He looks like at this point he is a good backup QB, but not a quality starting QB anymore. It doesn't look like he has that type of ability. And I wouldn't put him in the starting QB spot, but that's also what I think not Matt Nagy, because to me this could all just be a smokescreen, which it most likely is. It's just putting stuff out to the media so that way we can fill like 5 minutes. That's what it seems like. We're putting this out there. We're going to fill the space. We're going to make it to where everybody talks about us. We're in the media. The Bears are in the media potentially. What are we going to do with the starting QB? And most likely they're still going to end up with Justin Fields because you drafted the guy with such a high pick, considered one of the steals of the draft. He's definitely going to be high up on everybody's radars, and I understand they might want to go with that Alex Smith type of situation, and it's just depending on how they're wanting to treat Justin Fields as a rookie when it comes to how we've done with rookie QBs, because rookie QBs now have been put in so many various situations over the past 5 years, whether it's you throw him automatically into the fire, you keep him as a mentor, you switch him in and out. You got to try to find the right system to put your QB in the best position to be successful. So maybe Matt Nagy thinks, hey, maybe if I put out Andy Dalton for a little bit and give Justin Fields a little bit more time with the playbook, get him a little bit more acquainted with Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, maybe that's the way to go. I don't know. We got to figure out what type of system and how he wants to, I guess you could say, determine the development of Justin Fields, what way seems the best way for Chicago.
Yeah, and we've seen, I agree with what you said at the beginning. Look, Matt Nagy's obviously got some moronic tendencies. We know that. But if he goes this dumb, then I think we really got to get rid of him at this point. And the same part of it is I get so frustrated when I see these coaches. And this happens all over sports. So frustrated when you see these coaches like, no, I'm sold on this guy because I've seen him do it before. Maybe it's not at the highest level, but he's still been there. And then that's really all they can say. It's like, I'm not going to give a chance to this rookie. I mean, we've seen franchises change based off doing that, and I think it's time, beyond time. The Chicago Bears. By the way, what's funny is they just got Nick Foles just lingering around still on that lineup. I looked at the cap hit that it would take to get rid of him, and it's just a disaster. So that's kind of just sitting in the background pretty hilariously. All right, so we come back here on the afternoon sports drive. Well, we had a question dropped in yesterday for the Robert Show when I was on there with Levi, and it was after Tom left, and it was about the Oklahoma State baseball. I want to get this over there to Tom because I know he has something to say about Oklahoma State baseball and how they finished out. So we'll get that coming up next on the afternoon sports drive.
I'll catch you flying, go to the moon, lay on the floor of your living room, and talk about the things that make you cry. I'll never walk into another bar. I'll burn these tattoos off my arms.
Welcome back in Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, Tom Dorado, Levi Peckinpah with you on this Wednesday. Live from Bad Brad's Barbecue. Make sure you come on in this weekend for Father's Day, because if you bring your dad, he's going to get a free cobbler with his meal. It's a big time get there, because if you ever had the cobbler here, oh my gosh!
What's better than great barbecue? A free cobbler.
Nothing.
With great barbecue.
And it's free, man. You're going to want to come in and bring in Dad, bring in Grandpa. They'll get it too. And also, while you're here, make sure to try the delicious new smoked pork tenderloin at Bad Brad's. It is fantastic. You can have that and have your free cobbler. Enjoy the atmosphere here at Bad Brad's. It is the place to be this Sunday here for Father's Day, so come on out. All right, so yesterday we had one of our texters here on the show that wanted to ask Tom a question, and we actually asked him about the front office and all of that stuff here, but another part of it after that was this, Tom. We'll see what you think. He said, Miss Tom would like his opinion concerning inconsistency of the batters, talking about Oklahoma State's offense. Tom's opinion on that, and I think he was talking maybe more towards the end of the season as well, obviously when you get into postseason too, but what would you say back to that one?
Well, I still hold true to the fact that I thought this was a better lineup than the record indicated, despite all the injuries, despite the rhythm they didn't have. You could use a myriad of excuses, but the fact is most of your dudes played most of your games. Now, there's some who missed, and I'm just running down here. We played 56 on the year because Encarnacion Strand, he played them all. Thompson played 45. Cabanis was in 51 games. Hewitt played 55 of them. Trenkle played 52 of them. Garcia really didn't play. So, I mean, and that's probably not a good figure to look there. McCusker played 37. That's probably the glaring difference there. McLean played 39 of the 56, was in 39 of the 56. So, and Morrow was in 35 of them, and he was hurt most of the time, latter third of the year. So you could make a case that maybe the inconsistency came because you didn't run the same lineup out there every game. But for the most part on a college level, if you can get 35 to 40 games out of a kid individually, you got a pretty consistent lineup. And I thought for the most part, the guys that we counted on game in and game out, Thompson, Cabanis, Hewitt, Strand, Trenkle, and McCusker, for the most part, they were there. Okay, everybody wants to make McLean into something. Well, that was a big loss. McLean started out hot, and then the book caught up with him, and all of a sudden he wasn't hitting near as much as he was the first, 10 games of the year. They make you adjust at the plate. So inconsistency was there for sure. You can complain about the style of play, but I would say this: one of the real areas of inconsistency, and they are connected. We struck out 550 times this year. 550 times. It's almost an average of 10 a game. And we left 9 guys on average a game. Those things usually are hand in hand because you'll have somebody at second and third, somebody strikes out, the inning's over, you leave 2 on. I thought that was a glaring problem all year long, number one. Offensively, they didn't pitch Strand the way they did first half of the year. I mean, you'd have to be an idiot to throw him the stuff that people were throwing him the first 20 games of the year. He showed he could take him out of the yard any time. So he had to adjust to the pitching he had. This was a tough lineup. And, again, I go back to this. I mean, I'm not an excuse guy, and Zach's going to be curling his hair, but I don't live with the excuses, Zach. You are what you are. And you play 56 games, you are who you are. And you got more players in that dugout that probably could have come on and helped you, like a Marcus Brown. Took a while, but what a play he turned into be coming in when he had to. I mean, this is a starter next year for sure. I thought he might have been the story of the year, but you always had Hewitt and Trenkle for the most part at the top of that order. That, to me, set the tone for every game they played. So were they inconsistent? Yeah. They faced pretty good pitching in the league for sure. But I thought their strikeout rate and their inability to bring people in to the tune of leaving guys on like 9 to 10 a game, that comes back to haunt you in close games. And this lineup probably should have been more effective than it was, quite frankly. They still average probably 7 to 8 runs a game when you are adding all of it up. I don't have the stats in front of me, but they were potent for sure. But I thought there were spots where and the other side of the coin, the lineup, and this plays to defense. But you look at errors. We ended up making like 56 errors, I think, 52 errors in 56 games, and that's not much. I mean, if you average less than an error a game, then you're doing all right. But it wasn't the total of errors that we had this year. It was when they occurred. The guys second and third, the other guys have it, and they bounce it to the shortstop, and he throws it in the dirt, and all of a sudden a run scores, and the next guy comes up. He shouldn't have come up in the inning, and then he triples, and now 2 runs are scored because you threw it in the dirt. It was when these things happen versus the number of times it happened. So the whole team, quite frankly, I thought was inconsistent in a lot of areas, pitching as well. But the lineup, I thought, probably with as many guys as they had in there from time to time, and they didn't have everybody all the time. There's no doubt about that. But they had enough guys in there most games probably be more consistent than they were.
Yeah, no, I think we could all certainly agree with that, too. Let's knock one more text out while we have a couple of minutes here real quick. This one comes in. This is something that Levi and I hit on yesterday. It says, does Travis Kelce's comments about Cleveland look good for the Chiefs? Yesterday, in case you didn't miss it, Travis Kelce heaped a ton of praise on the Cleveland Browns, said that they were contenders, said that they were neck and neck with Kansas City. Does it look good for the Chiefs? I don't think it actually really has any meaning whether it looks good or bad for Kansas City, if I'm being honest with you. This is a situation where Kelce obviously, like talked about yesterday, knows better than us when it comes to this team. But I did think he was a little over the top with that praise. I mean, saying they were neck and neck with Kansas City was a little bit of a stretch. Now, I know they were there in the playoff game, and I think we can all agree that they're going to be a problem for the foreseeable future if Baker Mayfield can stay with it. That's the biggest stipulation involved with this squad. Maybe the question is probably leaning towards a little bit like, should Travis Kelce be heaping this much praise? Oh my gosh, there's a team up here in the league that's right there with us. Even if he says that, I think everyone knows. Kansas City still has the edge, and a lot of that comes with quarterback. The Browns are going to be a really, really interesting squad coming up again this season because they're mainly how bad they were just a couple years ago. I think the bounce back has actually been pretty incredible. So if it stays consistent, then it's going to be great for the league overall. I don't know, Levi. We talked about that yesterday. Is that the question again was, does it look good for the Chiefs that Travis Kelce made those comments?
To me, it didn't really reflect much on the Chiefs at all. It was all more just trying to praise up Cleveland, and like we were saying, it's definitely given high praise since you're there with Jarvis Landry. It's definitely given them some high praise. I think, like we said, Cleveland most likely is going to be a big team this year. Potential contender. I don't think that they're up on the Kansas City's level, and I think we're both on that. They're not up on Kansas City's level, but they are a good squad. They are very good, but I really don't know if it reflected much really on Kansas City. I think it was just more trying to give more praise towards Cleveland and what they've been able to build.
Yeah, I don't think it was a slight or anything like that. It was just, for Kansas City or anything. It's not like, oh man, we feel like we're threatened. It's going to be tough. No, it's just one of those things where you say, hey, I've got a couple friends on this team. They're pretty good, and I really like them. Now he kind of went over the top and was like, yeah, they're neck and neck or they're a contender. It's probably a stretch, but maybe a couple years out at best for Cleveland. So again, if you want to join in on the conversation, you can do that now and text into the show 405-385-4221. 405-385-4221. We will get to those as we continue to go along. Tom, real quick, who do you have on deck today for us, and where are they now coming up at 5 o'clock?
Oh, we got a good one. We're going to visit with Trey Reeves, recently not removed, so to speak, from the Oklahoma State active basketball roster, but a lot's happened since he left Oklahoma State. He's been married. He's gotten married. And starting in the fall, he's going to Harvard University. How about that, to start a 3-year Harvard law degree challenge, if you will. So we're going to catch up with Trey this weekend, see what he's been doing, or this afternoon, and kind of bring you up to date on his life. Two major things in a life in a short period of time, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. That'll be good to hear what he has to say about all that. Coming up at 5 o'clock right after the show, to make sure you stay tuned for that. Coming up next on the Afternoon Sports Drive, hour number 2, we'll get into some buy or sell here on Triple Play Sports Radio.
And I don't know how we make it out when we make out on the low. Even if it rains, you'd rather make it snow. Both you and me know we gotta let it go. Laying on the ground, wondering why it's so cold. How we make it out when we make out on the low. Even if it rains, you'd rather make it snow. Both you and me know we gotta let it go.
Welcome back into the Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Hour number 2, Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, Tom Dorado, and Levi Peckinpah. We're live at Bad Brad's Barbecue. Inside dining is available from 11 to 3 on Sunday. Father's Day coming up here in just a few days, so make sure you bring your dad to Bad Brad's, and he will get a free cobbler with his meal. It is Absolutely fantastic and something that would go perfect with your barbecue. And don't forget, while you're here, big time get for the whole family, smoked pork tenderloin. It's amazing as well. So make sure you come on in and you get you some of the best barbecue in town. Get Dad a free cobbler on Father's Day, and he will be thanking you for all of that, no doubt. Here in the second hour, we're going to get started with a little bit of buy or sell.
Are you buying?
I'd buy that for $1.
Or are you selling?
You pick up the phone and you sell, sell, sell.
This is Buy or Sell on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Make money, money, make money.
Buy or sell, Afternoon Sports Drive. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, Tommy D, and Levi Peckinpah. All right, my first one for you guys. So Oklahoma State football, as we know, around the corner. We'll be here before we know it with the non-conference games, Boise State, Missouri State, and Tulsa. Buy or sell that OSU football wins all non-conference games by a 14-plus point margin. Couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, I would buy that, and I will say that they'll be in trouble if they don't. I understand that Boise is a much better opponent than Missouri State, but it's an opponent that Oklahoma State should comfortably beat. I'm not saying they're going to go out there and beat Boise by 35 points, but if you don't beat Boise by at least 14, same thing with Tulsa. I think the game would have been a lot closer last year if you didn't deal with the bevy of injuries in the first game. Tulsa they were still a really good team last year, but it would have been closer if you didn't have all those injuries. So, I'll buy that. And if they don't, then I think we're in for a long year.
Well, this would be a rarity. I echo everything that Lancaster said. Everything to the T. This is not a very difficult schedule.
No.
If in fact you are going to be a contender, if you will, for a Big 12 championship, two of the games are here, so you shouldn't have any problem. If you have a problem with Missouri State, then you got more problems than you know.
Just fold it up.
And Tulsa is not the Tulsa from last year. But frankly, if Xavier Collins had played the last quarter, we might not have won that game last year. And then Boise State came in here with all kinds of this hype coming in here. A couple of years ago, was it? And man, they got a NFL quarterback, and they got this, and they got that, and they were no match. And they won't be any match this time around. We'll catch all the hype. They can't wait to get Oklahoma State out there, and they've got this thing circled, and then, hey, it's still a talent mismatch. So I buy it with a capital B.
Should be an easy buy. I mean, because Tulsa's not going to be anywhere near they were last year. That was the Xavier Collins effect. He was that good as a player out there. Missouri State should be easy. Boise State, they might pose a challenge. I'll say, first quarter you have a little bit of trouble, but after that you easily figure it out. That's a lob me up easy buy.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. When I put it at 14, I figured that would go ahead and be the answer.
Pretty safe.
And when you look at those three teams, Missouri State, I'll tell you guys just so you know, with the success that they did find in this weird spring schedule this last year, of course, we know that the FCS was moved around with COVID and everything. People were pumped around Springfield. They're like, finally. Well, it's because they haven't had success Missouri State football in quite some time. So they were pumped up about that. So I think they'll go in feeling good, like, hey, we usually know we're going to get diced up and knocked around by Oklahoma State. Now we still will, but maybe not as bad. We feel a little better about ourselves. So, but it won't be close on that one. Boise State, same way. While they hold a little more merit to their squad potentially, and yes, it's on the road, I think that one actually has the better chance of being as close as anything, because I'm with you guys too on Tulsa. Last year was one of those situations that was one of the weirdest games all season long. It just happened to be that was the first one of the year, I believe, right? It was just one of the weirdest games that we saw all season long. You had injuries starting early. Spencer Sanders, things were just going really strange. I think we had a lot of special team stuff going on in that game, and I don't think it's going to be close. This is a bounce back in terms of we get these 3 non-conference games, things are going to be back to normal, and they're going to slide right through, and I would expect them to win by 2+ touchdowns easily in all of these games. And I'm kind of with you, Zach, too, on the same thing. If not, we got a lot to talk about. We might be seeing a switch at some different positions and maybe quarterback too, but I think that's a stretch. I wouldn't see that happen.
Well, I set the number for Missouri State like 45.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Missouri State was the easiest out of all.
Yeah,
no
like
doubt.
if you're not beating Missouri State by at least 40, we're in some kind of alternate universe. So I'm looking ahead about a month, give or take a month, and this I'll preface this by saying that you guys get to decide what you would classify as breaking news. So I'm not predicting that a certain type, but buy or sell, we get some kind of quote unquote breaking news story out of the first Big 12 media days in 2 years.
I would sell it because I'm not a big media day guy anyway. I think it's all coach speak, and we've been working hard, and we work harder than anybody in the world, and we love each other, and we have more, all that crap that you hear year in and year out. So I'm guessing unless somebody got caught robbing a Walmart the night before somewhere, that might be breaking news, but these media day things are nothing more than just a pep rally. So no, I would sell the fact that there's not going to be anything big.
Yeah, no, I think I would be the same way. I don't think I could expect any draw dropping. Oh my gosh, we got to stop and get on the air right now, anything like that. But there will be different things that we can hear in terms of like Tom said, plenty of coach speak, but also hey, here's what we expect, maybe a little bit with our lineup and who we have different positions, some surprise guys that we've seen that you might get familiar with and the season starts and things like that. But as far as anything that's going to make headlines in a really important way, I would probably sell that as well.
Mm-hmm. It's there's nothing new breaking is going to be coming out of that unless within there's a short time period. It's like, oh, we're going to try to add 2 teams to the Big 12 and we get something out of far left, but that's not going to happen. That would be, for one thing, crazy, and the sky would most likely be falling at that point. There's not going to be any big news that comes out of there. It's really cool that you get to see the media there. It'll be cool. We'll have content here for Triple Play, but no big news. Nothing big is going to come out of there.
I don't think you'll see anything from the teams. I'm with Tom. I think it is all coach speak. Now you'll probably get, you'll get Mike Gundy, and you'll get, you'll get what's his name, the new Texas head coach from Alabama. You'll get them trying to say something, and there will be headlines. There won't be breaking news from the team, but I could see the Big 12 trying to do something. I wouldn't go as far to say is that it'll be like adding teams to the league, because I'm with you, Levi. That's out there. But I could see the league trying to put something out, trying to come up with something, some new initiative or some new kind of scheme or something to try to grab headlines to get attention on Big 12. But I wouldn't go as far to say that it would be breaking news. I could see it being a decent headline that people talk about, but I would probably sell breaking news. But if it does, it's coming from the league, not a team.
I am going to go back, I guess we haven't really hit on Major League Baseball today, but I'm going to head back over there. Clearly, some of the home run races starting to heat up, and at the top of those home run races, we've talked a little bit about Shohei Ohtani before. Hit another one last night, and he's sitting at 18, just an unbelievable talent, pitching and hitting, unlike anything we've really ever seen. Buy or sell by the end of the season. This is, of course, there's a lot of factors that can play into this. Buy or sell, he hits 40-plus home runs this season.
I think he'll take 40 home run swings between now and then. He'll take that many home run swings, and he has a tendency of kind of riding them out when he makes barrel to ball. So I would buy it. I mean, that's what he's got. 18 now, you said. That's
he
still
hit one today.
He actually hit one today, so there you go. Yeah, there's 18.
So he's got 18, and he's got roughly 95, 96 games left to play, I think, in regular season. You count the whole season or just regular season, Patrick? What are you doing?
Yeah, just the end of the regular season.
Okay.
He finishes the regular season with 40-plus.
I mean, I got to think he can get 20-plus more in 90-some-odd games, unless he gets hurt or whatever. And I would think that's is he going to hit 60? No, but I could see him getting to 40, yes.
Mm-hmm. What's it that like?
Since I don't have the dog in the fight here like I did with CES, So I don't feel guilty by saying, yes, he will hit that 40.
Okay. So you are fully accepting that you did jinx Christian Encarnacion straight.
I think you and I have to.
Okay.
Because we talked about it. He only needed
That's
10.
fair.
He needed 10 to get to 25, and he went a month and a half without one.
I'll accept that.
I don't have a dog in the fight here, so I'll buy 40 plus.
All right, Levi, what do you think?
I think I'll buy it as well at the rate that Shohei is going, and with the like Tom was saying, the home run swings that he keeps throwing out. I think that he's going to be hitting up there in 40. I think you're going to be seeing several guys that'll be being either at 40 or a little bit over 40. I believe Vlad's going to be hitting over 40 this year. So I think that you're going to see a couple up there with the 40. I think Shohei's definitely going to be one of them.
Well, especially now the pitchers aren't cheating.
We've done a real good job of making sure that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Man.
No, Shohei, he what's so great about his swing is that you can't pitch him away even or anything like that. You can't find a weak spot.
Nope.
Because his extension is so good, and then he gets so much barrel on the ball. And I don't know, you guys, if you haven't seen last night's home run, I saw the one today. If you haven't seen last night's home run, that ball was, I don't even know how the seam stayed on.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
You just walk him.
It's crazy. It's just something like we've never seen, the power, the strength. So I think he definitely gets over 40. And yes, a number of guys will get back to that this year, and that number is going to continue to rise. I don't think it'll be too long, especially if they keep trying to at least deter some of the pitching stuff, which again, I don't even know how much that would really have an effect on home runs, the way the guys swing and make contact with the ball nowadays anyways. So I think we're just a couple of seasons, if not a season away, before we start getting cracked more into that 60 range potentially before it's all said and done, with guys really just swinging for the fences all the time.
So what you're telling me is Major League Baseball is going to go through and deaden the ball again.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as Shohei this year, as soon as he hits 50 home runs this year,
that's it.
Then they're going to say,
mid-season change.
Yeah, Pete Alonso's going to be on to something again, and they're going to come back and say, nope, we got to deaden that and make sure Shohei does not hit that. You know why? Because how dare home runs happen in Major League Baseball? It's not good for the game. Mm-mm. Give me a break.
I'm there with Perez. I think they ought to equal it out. I think starting tomorrow, they ought to ban pine tar and gloves. Batters can't put pine tar on the bat, and you can't have gloves. If you can't do that from the pitching mound, then you probably have to circumvent the hitting too as well. And then we could have teams strike out 20 times a game instead of what they do now. So I'm being facetious here, but I think they ought to just quit messing with the game, quit messing with the ball. What did Perez say last night? That there's a thought out there that Major League Baseball is going to, they're not going to have a lively ball, they're not going to have a dead ball next year. They're going to have one in between. Well, how come you didn't have one in between before?
I'm glad you mentioned Perez. Tom, did you see the other comment of his that kind of made some viral news by chance?
No, I didn't see. No, I mean I heard him last night.
Well, he said that when he was pitching, he liked his balls rubbed in a certain way. And I think that got taken out of. He was talking about baseballs, but that was the cut I saw, and I thought, really, he actually said that on national television, but he did. It was fantastic.
Well, sometimes, having been in the business as long as I have been, sometimes you say something and then it comes out the way you wanted it to come out, but then you go back and say, "Holy cow! Did I really put those words together?" So anyway, I'm sorry for him, but he probably regrets saying that, although he didn't mean that, though, right? I'm sure.
No, he was talking about baseballs. He just didn't say the word base in front of it. All right,
too good.
What you got, Zach?
Too good. So we've talked about it the past 2 or 3 weeks with the end of softball season. We know that Coach Gajewski is a hell of a recruiter when it comes to the transfer portal. He just added one of the top transfer pitchers in the country from Illinois State. So buy or sell, we see him add another elite transfer before the end of June.
I mean, I would have to buy that, and it goes back to me talking about when softball ended, how big time this season was for exposure and for recruiting. And it's not like people weren't aware of Oklahoma State softball before this,
right.
But this team was obviously extremely talented. I heard a lot of people mention on a lot of different outlets and things like that hey, this team just looks like they're having the most fun. They're energized. They're into it. They're always with each other on every single thing. They're picking everybody up, and I feel like that was a part of the culture that Kenny Gajewski built. And that right there is a big draw for anyone who wants to come over and play, also knowing that you're going to have a chance to play at a high level. There's no reason Oklahoma State softball shouldn't be back in the thick of things. And I feel like this is a program that's going to gain a lot of consistency, even more so. And that comes with, the territory. So I think a lot of different recruits will have that opportunity to come in, a lot of different transfers as well. And you talk about pitchers, they saw what Carrie Eberle did. Yep. They want a piece of that too.
Absolutely.
They want to get involved. They saw the run support she received as well, and then that's always a plus. So yeah, I'll buy that. I think this is a great get for Oklahoma State. It doesn't stop here though.
I don't know what's a number one. I mean, if you listen to the people down Norman, then Gasso's getting number ones left and right too. So I guess you'll have to find out when they get to the field. But Oklahoma State's become transfer U is what they've been, and for a coach supposedly who doesn't like the portal or the philosophy of the portal, he has definitely benefited from the portal and continues to do so. And when you have that celebrity like they had,
Carrie Eberle.
What's that?
Samantha Shaw and Carrie Eberle.
Just to use
You're
two.
right on there.
Just to use two. So there's no reason to think that won't continue. Yeah. And when you're on TV, as much as Oklahoma State has been, and you're being mentioned, maybe not necessarily on the same level with Oklahoma, but you're being mentioned in the same breath with Oklahoma, that brings indirect publicity to you as well. So I see no reason why the transfer portal and those interested in playing here, I don't see how that's going to dry up for a long time. I don't think.
No, I'm with you on the same thing. I think this is it was a big season for OSU
100%.
softball, and it was a big draw season as well for a lot of different players that are looking for a new home. We talk about the transfer. I mean, this is a big landing spot for a lot of these players. All right, coming up next on the afternoon sports drive. Well, yesterday we also talked a little bit about Major League Baseball handing down their new punishment in quotations there, if you will, for players that are caught using a foreign substance. Well, our favorite pitcher that likes to be, I would say, Major League Baseball's antithesis, and that is Trevor Bauer. Had a few things to say about that. We'll see if he's right, though. He actually might be onto something here. Find out what that is next on the afternoon sports drive. Welcome back into the afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler and Zach Lancaster, Tom Dorado, Levi Peckinpah. We're live over here at Bad Brad's Barbecue. They're gearing up for this weekend. Father's Day is on Sunday. Make sure you bring Dad in, and he will get a free cobbler with his meal. 11 to 3 is when they are open on Father's Day. It's a big time place to come for your dad, and the whole family can join as well, because you can get in on this new smoked pork tenderloin, which I've seen a couple of people already order as we've been here, and it is amazing. It looks so good. They've given us great reviews on that so far, so it is definitely something to come in and try too while you're here at Bad Brad's. Come in on Father's Day. It's the best place to be. Dad will say thank you. All right, so Major League Baseball officially, I don't know what you want to call this, adding a little bit of meat to the bone, maybe, of the idea of we're going to suspend or we're going to punish players that are caught with a foreign substance. And reading more into this, as we talked about this a little bit yesterday with Tom, and we mentioned a bunch about, how exactly will this work, and is it just going to be a bunch of random different checks and things like that? Well, Trevor Bauer, who has had his, let's just say, spats with Major League Baseball and has made his feelings pretty clear on Rob Manfred. I mean, we have heard that multiple times, and he hasn't been shy on social media. Well, yesterday he was on video, and they asked him basically after the game, whichever it was, they said, hey, by the way, Trevor, in case you hadn't heard, Major League Baseball came down with this new rule that it's going to be 10 games if you are caught with a sticky substance. And what would you say to that? And he lifts up his hand, and a ball is literally stuck to his hand, and it just kind of slides off a little bit. And he explains that was a mixture of sweat and rosin, and that's what was causing it to stick to his hand. Those two substances are not illegal. So he was asking, all right, well, if that's the case, does that mean I get kicked out? Do I get 10 games if I have two legal substances right here? That was, again, another big middle finger back to the league. But he's kind of got a good point, because if you look at this, first of all, how does Major League Baseball Baseball police this? They have what? They have the umpires look at a ball, and if it appears to be somewhat sticky, they just immediately eject the pitcher. If it's found later on to be that legal mix of rosin and sweat or sunscreen or what have you, then what? The pitchers apologize to? Major League Baseball is like, sorry, dude, we suspended you 10 games and we kicked you out of that game that you were in, but no harm done. Hopefully you're doing okay. There's no real way for me to actually check every single pitcher. I mean, the ump's going to come out and pat him down before every single inning and see if he catches anything sticky off of his uniform? I mean, no. And what they should do, and this is the only and it's probably not even a solution. This is the only thing I could offer to the mix. And what they should do is, to me, is allow umpires to check a pitcher on two different merits. One, based on request, okay? So if the other manager sees something like we saw, for instance, I think was still the case, believe it or not, in the Chicago White Sox-St. Louis game when all this kind of blew up a little bit more. If that's the case and a manager says, hey, we think he's got something, we have suspension, the umpire before the inning goes out and checks just to make the other manager happy, says, no, it's good, or yeah, you're right, we found it. The other part of it would be, and I say this because I've seen it with my own eyes multiple times this year watching baseball. There have been pitchers that have gotten up there, and when they've thrown that ball in there, the spin on the ball is something like you've never seen before. Mm-hmm. And it's 4, 5, 6, 7 pitches in a row. If that's the case, all of a sudden, and you're the umpire, and you're saying, that's just some crazy move. I mean, that's unbelievable. Then you have the discretion to go out there and check and see. Now, you're going to upset some pitchers, you're going to upset some managers, but so be it. That's the only thing I think that could even make any type of sense. But other than that, I don't understand how you police this. That's why when Major League Baseball comes out and they say, hey, we're going to do this, and you pitchers try us and see what happens. You'll get 10 games. Do you think any of that was taken seriously? Absolutely not. And especially when they add the part, hey, you're not going to lose pay. You go 10 games, so what? You miss a start, well, you're still going to get paid. You think that's going to deter anybody from finding a way to get it done? I think this is just a giant, you-know-what from Major League Baseball to try and appease everybody else at this point. But everybody can see through it again. And Trevor Bauer was spot on with what he did and said yesterday too. Because reading between the lines, it's just another giant you-know-what to Rob Manfred, middle finger, saying, look, we don't care what you say. Your decisions are ridiculous. They mean nothing to us. We will not listen to them. We'll continue to do whatever we want. We might have to get just a little bit more sneaky with it, but we will find a way to get past it because you can't touch us. And Rob Manfred has made that clear. And then again, I saw the other point, which I loved. We've seen this multiple times with different things. So a pitcher can get 10 game suspension for sticky stuff on his hand, but you bang on trash cans to win a World Series and nothing happens to you. Really good job there, Rob Manfred. Well done, Major League Baseball. Wow, big round of applause for me over here.
And the Astros is why I think Major League Baseball is taking these kind of steps, because they caught so much flack. Manfred caught so much flack for essentially not doing anything to the Astros, and at what point does it stop becoming a big thing? I agree with you, Tom. But I think that's why they're taking such links, is because they don't want to be found guilty of not having done anything again. And I think that they're taking it too far, because at what point is it too many times to go out to a mound to check? At what point, how many number of requests to go out and check a ball or a hat from an opposing manager does the umpire like, hey, listen, I've been out there 7 times, all right? I haven't found a thing. I understand that you're not happy with the spin rate, but there's nothing there. I mean, Major League Baseball supplies rosin bags to pitchers, so do with it what you will. I think that at some point it's gone completely overboard, and I think we'll see a drop after 2 or 3 weeks of just ridiculous checks and all kinds of nonsense. I think you'll see Major League Baseball kind of start to go the way of the way they went with the pitch count, with the 30-second pitch clock. I think you could see something like that.
Well, this to me is in the same category as 7-inning doubleheaders and starting a guy at second base in extra innings. Just what is it you're trying to prove? You're trying to appease who? Who are the people you're trying to appease in this particular area? The batters who say we're not hitting because these guys are doctoring the baseball and the spin rate. 3 or 4 years ago, raise your hand if you even knew what spin rate was. The only time you ever heard spin rate was maybe a pitching coach might have said that to somebody off the cuff. It wasn't public knowledge. It wasn't something you threw out just like a ball four, spin rate. Now spin rate is the big thing. It's, okay, you're going to have an umpire who has this hard enough time in this day and age calling balls and strikes. Now he's going to monitor what the spin rate looks like 3 straight times, and you're going to trust his judgment in order to go prove that somebody's doctoring the baseball. And I'm with you. I mean, these managers, how long will it take when you're it's the 7th inning and you got the bases loaded, the other team has the bases loaded, nobody out, and the only way you can handle anything is to cry foul that there was all kinds of stuff going on from the mound. So I'm going to challenge. How many challenges you going to have? Can you challenge every game? Can you challenge every inning? I mean, this has absolutely reached the point of being ludicrous. And people who want to continue to monkey around with the game and supposedly want to grow the game and bring more people into the game, all this kind of crap in my mind just drives it away. Because the fan who comes to the ballpark, in my mind, who pays good money to sit there and watch a game, do you think they're sitting there figuring out who's got the best spin rate and why? If their batters are hitting the ball all over the yard, they don't care what the spin rate is of the guy throwing it, do they? They don't even care whether he might be doctoring the baseball. If their guys are not hitting, doctoring or not, they're pissed off at their batters for not hitting, and they're going to be mad at that. So you're appeasing who? Who is it you're trying to appease? The batters who can't hit anymore? Or you're just trying to put it on the pitchers, and this is why they can't hit. They can't hit because they throw it 100 miles an hour every time you turn around, and you swinging at things out of the zone all the time. And whatever happened to building a couple of a base hit, a bunt, another base hit, a sac fly? How about that instead of trying to get 3 in one swing? I just think they're messing around with the game too much, and this is as big a joke as any of them.
Yeah, and Tom, correct me. I mean, you might have said this to me yesterday, but the other part of it too is, all right, if we're going to go by this, why not just insert a certain umpire, if you will, or official that is their only job? Their job is to check every single time that a pitcher comes in. Let me double check all my spots. I have a handbook right here. It tells me where to look exactly, and I got to check 5 different spots real quick to make sure that there's no sticky stuff. And if there isn't, then you're good. I'm the only one it's my final call. I get to say. Did you say anything? I thought I had heard somebody say that to me yesterday. I couldn't remember if that was you, but If not, maybe that's the next step they take, which again could take up a lot more time.
I was being facetious, but I could see that happening though. I mean.
Yeah.
Are you going to go out and frisk?
No, it's true. It's something that could be a part of the game before it's all said.
You're going to frisk every pitcher? I mean, or are you going to put somebody, say, coming out of the bullpen, you're going to put one of these sticky stuff police guys at the gate and frisk him before he takes the field and see if there's any sticky stuff in the glove or in his hat or in his hand or in his shoe or on his sock? Give me a break. I mean, learn to hit what's thrown to you. That to me is the thing. Learn to pitch. If you got some stuff on your hands, so be it. And how ludicrous is it? I'm watching the game right now. There's that big old rosin bag right there. If you're worried about stuff like this, take the rosin bag away. Take everything away and let them go on their own. But like I said, take the pine tar off the bat too while you're at it, because that might help the batters a little bit, hold on to the bat a little bit more, and maybe that's why they hit so many home runs.
Yeah, maybe it is. I mean, it is completely ridiculous. Okay, Levi, let me ask you, what should we call these guys then? Because they're going to be a part of the game. What are they the sticky stuff guys? I mean, am I on to something there? Is that's not a good one?
Ball police.
The ball police.
They police all the balls. Yes.
The sticky guards. That'll be the perfect name. I guess I don't really know for someone to have to do that, but you're gonna need some type of patrol to do this and not leave it up to someone like the referees who are already or not the refs, the umps that are doing so much. And they're already trying to control everything else with the game. You're gonna need someone else besides the umps to do all this. So yeah, I guess sticky guards are gonna be the way to go if we're basically going to have to frisk all these players for anything sticky.
Let's make it like a police academy, too. Like, let's get a bunch of guys that want to be sticky guards, but they have to go through
Sticky Ball Academy.
Sticky Ball Academy. They have to go through, and they have to be able to tell if it's real or not, and all this stuff. Let's make them like an elite task force. Bring them into Major League Baseball. and just make sure that they're also a part of the whole no fun rule. Too.
Only if they wear trench coats.
I was going to say, only if we get a parody movie that's actually called Sticky Ball Academy that we can sell in theaters.
No, it could. I'm sure. I'm sure that
We're
somebody
onto
will come up. Yeah, I'm sure that'd be down the line. But I think we're just taking the sport and just absolutely embarrassing the sport with all these rules and regulations. And now this is the reason. This is the reason batters can't hit anymore, because they've been doctoring baseball since the beginning of time, and they did it in a lot less subtle ways back in the old days, because they put a clump of whatever in their glove, and it would last the whole game. They'd be able to use on the ball. Now they're just a little bit more discreet about it. But now the numbers are going to be different now because we got somebody policing the pitchers. Come on, my goodness gracious. We're just trying to think of things to put in the way of the game, and this is the thing that'll drive some people away if we keep monkeying around with the stupidity.
Yeah, I agree. Let's not go movie. Let's go ESPN 30 for 30. What if I told you these elite task force found themselves in a sticky situation?
And the only way, like, if an opposing manager wants to try to call out and use a challenge, they have to bang on a trash can.
Yeah, let's just
sticky balls.
Let's just involve it all. Oh my goodness, it's a disaster. All right, Tom, tell us one more time who you got coming up. Where are they now?
We got somebody who won't even get involved in this kind of discussion. Trey Reeves, much smarter than us, and because Trey was one of the more popular guys we've ever had play here. Not only because of his last name, because he's just a good dude, and he's had a bunch of things, a couple of things happen since he left. So we're going to keep up with Trey and catch up the fact he got married recently. That's a big thing, and he's heading to Harvard this fall to go study law at Harvard. How about that?
Maybe that's why he's going to law school, so he can figure out the punishments for doctoring baseballs.
Well, maybe he could represent pitchers who will appeal.
There you go.
He'll be
Bring it up.
We'll have an appeal.
See what he thinks.
Yeah, we're going to court. You prove that I had that sticky stuff here.
Yeah, that's something
joke.
I think he can definitely handle.
What a joke.
It's a joke. When we come back on the afternoon sports drive, we'll round things out. We'll tell you what we learned. It's coming up next. Welcome back into the afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, Tom Dorado, and Levi Peckinpah with you on this Wednesday afternoon, live from Bad Brad's Barbecue. Don't forget that this Sunday on Father's Day, come on in 11 to 3 is when you can come into Bad Brad's. And if you do, you bring your dad, he'll get a free cobbler with his meal. I tried the delicious new smoked pork tenderloin as well. A lot of folks in here right now that we've seen come in, multiple different people have tried that and looks really, really good. So that's just one of the many options. They've actually got somewhat of a new menu too. So come on in and check out everything that they have. When I was here yesterday, I tried the Big Thunder.
That's my favorite.
It's so good.
That's my favorite.
Oh my gosh! It came with sausage links, and then it came with brisket, I believe, too. Oh, it's so good, man.
It was turkey.
Yeah, some turkey. That's what it was. Yeah, turkey is what it was.
So
it was
good.
great, and it had some. Yeah, they threw a lot, like 3 or 4 different meats on there, and I said, "Yep, that's the one I want."
Sign me up.
So make sure you come on in and check out all the great food and the atmosphere too here at Bad Brad's Barbecue. Before we tell you goodbye today, we're going to tell you what we learned.
The day is coming to an end. Time to find out if these two got any smarter. Let's find out what the guys learned today on the afternoon sports drive.
Well, I learned something today.
So I learned that Charles Barkley is not happy. He's not happy.
No, he's not.
Charles Barkley is effectively being told what he now can and cannot say. Obviously, TNT doing the NBA show there over there. Look, I think that show is actually really entertaining. Charles Barkley is a big part of that. But there was a joke, obviously, inside of that show where he used to talk about women specifically in San Antonio, and he used to call them big old women down in San Antonio, and that was the joke: big old women down in San Antonio. So he went on a radio show in Washington and Washington, D.C., and this is what he had to say about the higher-ups at TNT now saying he can no longer say anything like that. He said, quote, "It's gotten so out of hand right now. I couldn't imagine having to watch myself. You can't even have fun nowadays without these jackasses trying to get you canceled and things like that. All we ever talk about behind the scenes is, yo, man, be careful going in this direction. We can't even have fun anymore. We've had fun all these years. Now, all of a sudden, the last year and a half, everybody's trying to get everybody fired, and it really sucks, unquote. Now, I think, first of all, there's really nothing wrong with what Charles Barkley said. Like, I guarantee you, a couple people online got bad, and they ran to Twitter, and TNT, like many other companies, recognized that for whatever reason and told Charles Barkley you can't say that. But can you imagine if it was flipped? I mean, if a woman was sitting there on TNT on the inside in the NBA and said, you know what, let's flip it. There's some big old men in San Antonio. You think anyone would have blinked an eye in that situation? I mean, they probably laughed and claimed, oh, man, she was so edgy for saying that. That's just incredible. That's what it would be. And it's certainly worse at bigger companies, too. You know, joking around's no longer allowed. The hot takes with sports can only be uttered if they actually fit the narrative. It's frustrating for him, and I get that, because he was one of the few, very few, in sports media who actually spoke his mind, didn't really care what people thought about what he said. I think eventually he's going to just have to call it good and not waste his time anymore, which he also continued to pretty much go on and say, you know, a couple of years, it looks like he's probably going to call it quits. But I got to say this to all these people that complain, like, it's okay to not be such an uptight loser all the time. Like, things are funny. Things always have been funny. So this is just another situation where, you know, Charles Barkley understands what's happening. He gets it. We'll see if he actually sticks to that, because I would like to now watch the show and see if he pulls that joke out again, just in spite to the higher ups at TNT, and see what everyone has to say about that. So he's the latest that's upset about not being able to, you know, have some fun every now and again and save everybody's feelings, if you will.
Well, and I would find it if Charles Barkley find a job almost immediately.
Oh, absolutely.
If TNT decided to part ways.
Absolutely.
So, I found out today that Oklahoma State has 2 new All-Americans. The National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association tabbed Christian Encarnacion Strand and Justin Campbell as All-Americans. Encarnacion Strand he's a first-teamer, and then Justin Campbell's a first-team freshman All-American. And then Encarnacion Strand is the first Cowboy since Garrett McCain in 2017 to earn this honor. So we all know how good Garrett McCain was. He is the 26th Cowboy overall, and that's a lot. That's a lot of All-Americans.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well deserved too.
Huge honors there for those 2 guys, and I got to say I'm really hoping that they continue this hot streak, because I think next year could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great to see. Certainly, like I said, just very well deserved by those 2 guys. Tom, did you learn anything today?
Well, I just learned that. That's good news. Those guys deserve it. They had All-American type of years from start to finish. It's a shame that Campbell had to go out on that note there against UC Santa Barbara, but that game shouldn't overshadow what he meant and what he did. I tell you what I learned today, and I've learned the last couple of days, and again today, so I learned it for the 3rd day in a row. You know, I want my Mets to win, and I want them to continue to lengthen the spot in their division over Atlanta. I want them to win tonight, but every time the Mets have won this week, the Cardinals have won, which means they've picked up 3 games on the Cubs. So I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted in wanting the Mets to win, but not helping the Cardinals in the same breath, and that is hard to do. But
Tom, I would like to say thank you to your Mets, because the Cardinals needed their help, and like just to rub it in even worse, 2 back-to-back days. Okay, we've had 2 walk-offs for St. Louis. You had Paul Goldschmidt go yard yesterday, and old man Yadi Molina keeps chugging along and had the walk-off single today. So just so you know, not only are we winning back here again in 3 games in a row, but we're doing it in walk-off fashion, even better.
And you're also doing it against Miami. Keep that in mind, okay? Miami. Let's not get carried away here. It is Miami.
Hey, you got to win the game you're supposed to win. Come on now.
But I am conflicted. So that means if DeGrom wins tonight, I'll be happy to see that. They would have beaten the Cubs the 3rd game in a row. That means that the Cardinals will climb to within 3 games of the lead. So they look like they were down and out. The Mets indirectly helped them to get back in. So that's the conflict I've had for the last 3 days. That's what I've learned.
I'm thankful because, as you guys know, a week ago I had officially given up. I was done.
Yeah, you
gave us the
yeah.
you gave us the scenario of Aaron Rodgers re-signing with Green Bay or the Cardinals winning, and you picked Aaron Rodgers.
And then they won.
Yeah, and then they won like 2 days later.
It was. I think I just kind of speaked it into existence, so I'll take credit for that. It's all good. Levi, what you got?
Let's let a different team step up. Let's talk about my White Sox as they finished the series against Tampa Bay, win 2-1. Just Grandal with a walk-off single to get the W, 8-7 in some extra innings against Tampa Bay. Love to see it. Thank goodness, because Aaron Bummer and the majority of the other pitchers for the White Sox about gave me a heart attack halfway through the game as the White Sox gave up a 7-2 lead. But thank goodness for Grandal being able to finish it out and get the W.
Monty, there we go. There you go. That's good stuff, man. The White Sox still really fun to watch. Hey, Tom, coming up real quick, who do we have on Where Are They Now one more time?
Trey Reeves, one more time. We talked to Trey about his what's going on in his life after he left Oklahoma State, and I will tease it if you hadn't heard. There's a lot been going on here recently in the Trey Reeves world.
There you go. That's coming up here in just a couple of minutes. That's Tom Dorado. You'll be able to hear him there. That's Levi Peckapaw, too. Appreciate him joining us as always. Thanks to Bad Brad's over here. Make sure you come on in this Sunday for Father's Day and get your dad a free cobbler with his meal. That's Zach Lancaster. I'm Patrick Wheeler. This has been the Afternoon Sports Drive. Where Are They Now? It's coming up next.